SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob SquarePants, Spongebob! Hello guys and welcome back to Dylan's Little Hobbies, and in today's video we are going to be talking about, that's right, what made SpongeBob SquarePants great to me. You know what, I swear, when it comes to three shows, if I had to pick three shows that pretty much just define my childhood, I would go Star Wars: The Clone Wars. I would go Naruto, which is an anime. I absolutely love anime. And then out of all of the cartoons I've seen tons of cartoons. I've seen cartoons on Cartoon Network. I've seen old cartoons. I've seen newer cartoons. I've seen cartoons during the early 2000s and cartoons from the 1990s. And I love those cartoons. But God, if there's one cartoon I have to state that pretty much defines my entire childhood, it's SpongeBob SquarePants. Absolutely SpongeBob SquarePants. And wow, this is gonna be a humongous blast. Now, let me tell you, SpongeBob SquarePants, it's popular for a reason, and my God, SpongeBob SquarePants practically is the dawn of memes. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of memes, and there's a really good reason why there are thousands and thousands of memes from this show. It's because the comedy is fantastic, the jokes are great, and you know what's funny about it? I actually, for this video, I don't normally do this, but I really felt like I knew that I was going to be making this video. And I really felt like I just want to see what the first season of SpongeBob was like again. You know, it's been years. I haven't seen the show since I was a child. I literally stopped watching television around 17, 18. I have not watched a SpongeBob episode since I was 18 and I'm 26, right? I watched the first season of SpongeBob within a week. And let me tell you, the jokes in this show, legit, are far better today and far more relevant today than they were back then. It's amazing, it's crazy how that just ended up working out. And let me tell you, I actually feel like a lot of people today, need to go back and watch SpongeBob SquarePants and learn the lessons from this show, because you know what? A lot of people say you can't learn anything from TV. You know, that was the line that was going around as a child when it came to me a lot. But you know what? I learned a lot from TV. I was one of those kids who loved science and loved television. I used to watch the Science Channel. I used to watch Animal Planet. And you know what? Every now and again, I liked a good cartoon. I liked a good story. And that's the biggest thing. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, if you can't tell by my shirt and my poster. I love good stories, but sometimes it's just fun to sit down, turn your brain off, and watch something fun and hilarious. And at the very same time, when you actually look at what was in those episodes, oh my God, you are learning without even realizing it. And that's some of the best thing about some of the childhood shows back then that I used to watch, is that you could literally sit back, turn off your brain, not pay attention at all, and have a blast with it. But if you do pay attention, you don't even realize it, but you will actually learn lessons through the shows. And, well, another great example of this is actually, hilariously, Thomas. I used to be in Thomas when I was a little kid, you know, about 4 or 5 years old, even younger than that. I used to love Thomas. But something that I really liked about the early days of Thomas is they were trying to teach you lessons, and you could really take away lessons from the old show, but they weren't like sitting there and going straight up to the camera and going, "Hey kids, guess what the lesson of this episode is? It's blank, blank, blank." And I mean, there's nothing wrong with shows that do that, especially when you're talking about like kindergarten age kind of thing. But I'm telling you what made SpongeBob great to me is the fact that there were actual lessons within the show, and you just had to think about it. You just had to take a second to think about what was going on in each episode, and you can find usually a lesson. Now, I'm not saying that's the case for every single episode of the early days of SpongeBob, but that's how it was. Like, a fantastic example to me, actually, is the episode where SpongeBob is making squirrel jokes. And you know what? This is a lesson that a lot of people need to learn, right? So SpongeBob, he's at the Krusty Krab. He's not funny, but then he sees Sandy and he starts making squirrel jokes, and everyone loves it. But then everyone starts treating Sandy like she's dumb because of these squirrel jokes, and Sandy doesn't like that. And so she goes up to SpongeBob, says, "Hey, you know what? The squirrel jokes aren't funny anymore." SpongeBob doesn't really take it that well. I mean, he does, but eventually he says, "You know what? These jokes, everyone loves them. There's no big problem with them. You're just too sensitive." And she actually decides, "You know what, SpongeBob? If you think I'm so dumb, I'm gonna act so dumb." And teaches SpongeBob that, yeah, some of those jokes can be kind of hurtful and that they shouldn't be made. At the same time, you also gotta look at that episode and realize, well, hey, you gotta learn to take a joke. And by the end of the episode, SpongeBob makes fun of not just Sandy, but everybody. And everybody laughs and has a good time. Yeah, some of the jokes are hurtful, but that's what humor kind of is. And everyone needs to learn to take a joke. Especially in the days when everyone needs to learn to take a joke. Everyone needs to go watch that episode of SpongeBob. But I mean, even some of the dumber episodes of SpongeBob where, like, this one episode where SpongeBob has bad breath and everyone is running away from him. He thinks because Patrick, because he doesn't have a nose, he's trying to give SpongeBob reason he is a good friend, and he says, "Oh, it's because you're ugly." So SpongeBob goes around thinking he's ugly the entire time. No, it just turns out he has bad breath, and you can take away the lesson of if you don't want people to run away from you, then maybe you should brush your teeth and not have bad breath. That was the lesson of the episode. But there are other episodes with really good lessons. I mean, does anyone know how to tie their shoes? Remember that episode? It's called the Loop-de-Loop. No, oh my god, there are so many great episodes of SpongeBob. One of my absolute favorite episodes, though, has got to be SpongeBob Ripped His Pants. And the story here is fantastic. We have SpongeBob at the beach with Sandy. He has his best friend with him, one of his best friends with him, and he ends up ripping his pants. Everyone laughs. He thinks it's funny and he wants more attention. He wants to make his best friend laugh more. And eventually he keeps on ripping his pants and taking the joke way too far to the point where no one wants to hang out with him. And that's when he learns the lesson, okay, not to take a joke too far. It's also said through, you know, the goofiness of SpongeBob with the whole ripping his pants situation, but it's hilarious. And that episode, hands down, one of my favorite episodes, has one of the best songs of the show, which is SpongeBob Ripped His Pants. Fantastic. And I mean, there are other great episodes like that as well. With other great songs as well. I mean, who can forget about the band episode, where we have basically Squidward putting together a band because he doesn't want to look bad in front of his old college buddy, basically. And yeah, no one really takes him seriously and makes jokes of him, and he just gives up. But SpongeBob decides, you know what? No. He's a good friend. Squidward is a good friend. We have to do this for him. And so he gets the band together, and they end up rocking at the end with one of the best songs throughout the show. Absolutely a blast. Great episode. Another really fun episode that I can actually think of is the episode with Plankton and the whole fun episode. This episode is great. Plankton, his entire time, he just wants to steal the Krabby Patty formula, and actually within the show itself, there's a lot of really good reasons as to why. He basically is a small guy, everyone looks down on him, so he feels inferior, so he wants true power. To get true power, it feels like he has to rule the world, right? And SpongeBob sees that, and SpongeBob's like, you know what? If he just had one friend, he wouldn't be such a meanie. And so he tries to befriend him, and he actually does. And of course, the episode ends with Plankton kind of just being a jerk at the end, stealing the Krabby Patty formula anyway, but doesn't get away. He gets his comeuppance at the end, but it's a very good episode. It's a very good episode. I really enjoy that one as well. I also really enjoy a lot of Squidward. In fact, Plankton and Squidward are my two favorite characters of the show. Because as much as Plankton wants to come off as this big evil villain, she's a tiny little dude, and I can kind of relate to him, Everyone wants to be seen, Everyone wants a bigger voice and stuff like that. But at the same time, he's just a guy who kind of just needs friends. He doesn't have any, and you feel really sorry for him. But you can kind of laugh at him and laugh at the jokes as well. Plankton is a great character, but Squidward is absolutely the best character of SpongeBob, period. And one of the best things about Squidward is Squidward was never truly a villain. Yes, he's kind of an antagonist at some points of the show, but let me tell you, what Squidward really is, he's just a guy who wants to be left alone, but because he has noisy neighbors, one of his noisy neighbors is indeed the guy who works at his own job. Because of that, he just kind of can't get away, and he comes off kind of as a jerk a lot of the times, but he also has those special moments, just a couple moments, where he shows that he does actually care. Like, do you guys remember the Krusty Krab pizza? The pizza for you and me? Yeah, my god, I gotta stop singing these songs, especially because I cannot sing. But the Krusty Krab pizza episode is fantastic because here we have SpongeBob trying to deliver this to the customer, and because he's SpongeBob, they end up in the middle of nowhere with Squidward, and they're just trying to get back. And finally, when they get back, Squidward sees what SpongeBob has gone through the entire time, trying to get this pizza to the customer, and then the customer is a complete jerk and doesn't take it. And then SpongeBob literally just breaks down and cries in front of Squidward because the customer doesn't know what SpongeBob has been through trying to get that pizza to him. And you know what? Squidward decides, you know what? I'm gonna stand up for SpongeBob. And he picks up the pizza and slams it in his face. And then guess what? It turns out that they're gonna go home. Nope, they can make it to work because it's right next door. Oh my god. It's fun, but you can clearly see within episodes like that Squidward does actually care. One of my all-time favorite episodes, which is another great example of Squidward actually caring, is the Christmas special. Oh my god, the Christmas special. Such a classic. I absolutely love this episode. So we got SpongeBob's very first Christmas, and SpongeBob goes to Sandy. Sandy is getting ready for Christmas, and SpongeBob asks Sandy, well, what's Christmas? And she tells him the story of Santa Claus and Christmas and everything, and SpongeBob gets the whole town excited to celebrate Christmas, except Squidward, who thinks it's all just a big joke. And by the end, well, Santa doesn't show up, but SpongeBob still makes a gift for Squidward, even though Squidward never thought that Santa Claus was ever gonna be real, right? And you just have this heartfelt moment because here SpongeBob was thinking about it out Squidward, and he didn't want him to be feeling left out. And because of that, that finally makes Squidward realize that he's been an entire big jerk the entire time, and decides to do something about it. So he actually decides to dress up like Santa Claus and surprise SpongeBob, and ends up giving everything that he owns to everybody just to please SpongeBob. He does actually care. He does actually care. Love that episode. Love that episode. And there are so many more episodes of SpongeBob like that I love. But then we come to the end of the show, which is the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Fantastic movie. I love the whole story of SpongeBob. You know, he wants to be the manager of the new Krusty Krab. The Krusty Krab 2. I can't believe that they're actually just calling it the Krusty Krab 2 and they're opening it right next door to the old Krusty Krab. That's hilarious. But he wants to be manager, however, Mr. Krabs doesn't think he can do it and calls him just a kid, because SpongeBob is kind of just a kid. And then he learns throughout the movie that it's okay to just be a kid, you know? He tries to act like an adult. He tries to act grown up and stuff like that, but it just doesn't ever work out for him. And then we have the whole thing with Plankton stealing the crown, Neptune's crown, and getting that whole thing involved. It's a really great movie if you haven't seen it, but one of the best lessons from that movie is that it doesn't matter if you're a kid. You know, don't grow up too fast, you know? And even as an adult right now, I'm an adult, but there's just something magical about that lesson about just don't take everything too seriously. Just be a kid, and it's alright to just be a kid. I love SpongeBob so much, and so it terrifies me. It actually pretty much hurts me that this show used to be one of the best shows ever. And I go as far as, I know a lot of people think I'm crazy, but I like season 4 and season 5 wasn't that bad. But after that, oh my god, this show is god awful. And it's amazing how bad this show got. And SpongeBob is one of the greatest examples of basically a corporation taking something popular and running with it until it's bone dry for money. And that's what Nickelodeon did to SpongeBob, and it's terrible to think of. It's horrible to think of. Yeah. That's where I'm going in this video, because I don't want to get into. There are better videos. There are tons of videos on the internet that literally go in depth of how great SpongeBob was in the game and how it just became a corporate version of itself, and how all of the characters basically became a messed up versions of themselves. Like Squidward in the early days, he cared for SpongeBob at least. Later on, he's just a big jerk. Patrick wasn't the dumbest person ever, even though he was the dumbest person on the show. There was something about him that you just liked. Now he's just an idiot. Just an idiot. I can't stand what they turned SpongeBob into later on. Let me know down in the comments below, what do you think? What made SpongeBob SquarePants, the show, great to you? And guess what? If you are watching this on the day that this video comes out, then I am going to be going live tomorrow with a couple of friends of mine talking about what made SpongeBob great to them for a couple of hours. So we're probably going to get into a lot more of the show. I absolutely love SpongeBob SquarePants. I loved it when I was a kid. I love it still today. And yeah, let me know down in the comments below. Why do you love SpongeBob? You know, this whole thing is supposed to be what made SpongeBob great. No. why do you love SpongeBob? Because let's face it, we all love that crazy sponge. Thank you guys for watching, and I am out for now.